Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Poet Speaks podcast, the #1 spoken word podcast in the world. All right, so our next guest is co-owner of Ryozan Park and executive director of Kosodate Village NPO. She has a degree in literature and master's degree in Japanese gender studies and creative writing. Originally from Scotland, she also works as a voice artist and in her spare time loves reading and writing poetry, playing music, and walking in the woods with her 2 young children. She's also a former NHK World TV weathercaster. Please welcome to the podcast, Rachel Ferguson. Rachel, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Rachel, tell us, where are you currently located in the world right now? We need address, zip code. No, I'm just kidding. Just tell us where are you currently located in the world right now?
Okay, I'm in Tokyo. I'm in Sugamo, which is the north part of the Central Line. So still pretty central, but it's a nice residential area. And at the moment, I'm in one of our share offices at Ryozan Park. So I'm down in Ryozan Park Grand in the private dining room and getting a bit of peace and quiet here.
All right, everyone hear that? Private dining room. So she's doing it real fancy for the podcast. All right, private dining room. It's very nice. If you're watching the visual, it looks very nice.
Yeah, we have a chef's kitchen here to do like pop-up events and to support sort of food entrepreneurs and things like that. So a little dining room off the side of that, which I have commandeered this evening.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get into it. I think everyone can hear that beautiful, lovely accent. So you are from Scotland, correct?
Yes, I'm from Scotland. I was born in Canada, so yeah, so I moved to Scotland when I was 6. My family's all Scottish, and we moved back just when I was at the beginning of elementary school. So, you know, I picked up quite a strong Scottish accent somewhere along the way, and then I moved to Japan a long time ago and became a little bit more transatlantic, I suppose. It switches. It depends who I'm talking to. It's very easy to fall back into different pronunciations.
Absolutely. So everyone is wondering what does a Scottish individual, how does she end up in Tokyo, a place like Japan? How does that happen? Tell us, how did your journey venture into Japan?
Same as most people who come here, you think you're going for a year and then you never end up leaving. So after college, I wanted to go to after university. See, I'm talking to you and I'm starting to bring out all these Americanisms. After university, I wanted to go traveling. I'd already been backpacking around Europe and didn't really know what to do with my degree. So I just cast my net wide and ended up getting a hook in Japan for teaching. So I came out here for a year and then just never managed to get back.
So you got lost here and just never found your way anywhere. This became the home.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your background in writing. So you have a degree in literature and a master's degree, Japanese gender studies and creative writing. Tell us kind of how is that voice kind of translated to your work in poetry? You do poetry in a very interesting way. I see you post poetry kind of individually on your blog, and you've been picked up by publications. Tell us how your kind of venture into spoken word and poetry, specifically poetry, really kind of began from college, master's degree to now.
Okay. I'm still trying to figure this one out, so I might be a bit stream of consciousness, but so I have been writing songs and poetry since I was really small, since I was like 4 or 5, and I just loved doing that all the way through school. I don't think it's anything that was ever really nurtured. I found that the poetry I was reading was not particularly interesting to me, especially as I became an adolescent. There was nothing that really spoke to me. We were getting a lot of Ted Hughes. I mean, Ted Hughes is a great writer, but I wasn't really interested in the tiger and lion lying in the sun. It didn't really connect to what was my experience at the time. So I was writing, but if you're not reading poetry, then there's only so far that your writing can go. You need to consume and learn from that. So it wasn't until I got to university and I was still writing short stories, writing poetry just for myself, that there was a writer in residence who came. And so in the English class, we were studying this book called Maiden Speech by Eleanor Brown, who was not too much older than us at the time. And what she was writing about was sex and religion and football and myths, and modernizing these Greek myths and fairy tales, and in the most beautiful feminist way that I had never seen anywhere before. I had never read anything like that, and it just really connected with me. It really did something. And so I was in love with this very slim collection of poetry. And then one day she walked into our class and was introduced as the new writer in residence. So I was at her door immediately, saying, look at this, teach me, teach me, teach me. And I think I might have been the only person in the whole school that actually used her. She was there for maybe 6 to 9 months or something. So we would go out. She's like, I have a budget. Let's go out. I'll take you drinking and we'll talk about poetry. Wow. So that's what we would do. And then she left, and I guess I did continue writing for a while, but when there are other things to do and you don't have that community and you don't have that kind of nurturing, if you're not involved in those kinds of circles, then it is something that just sort of goes by the wayside, and it did. But when I try and put away creative things because I'm busy and I want to focus, because you have to focus if you want to get good at anything, right? When I try and put these things away and go, well, that's not what I've done with my life. I wanted to go off and do a poetry master's in the States. And by the time I finished doing all my research about what it was going to cost me, I decided I couldn't really justify that. So I came to Japan instead. But that's how much I really love poetry. That's how much I wanted to do it. But it just felt like it was an irresponsible thing to do. So I came to Japan instead to work, to earn money instead. But yes, I try to put these things away, but they nag at you. They don't go away. They stagnate. And I remember reading quite recently, actually, the last couple of years, that talents or passions that go unnurtured, they don't just disappear. They curdle. They become bitter. They become a part of you that is negative. And so I thought, maybe I should try and nurture that thing that's really important to me. So I mean, I'm always reading, and would sketch out half poems and put them in the drawer year on year. This sort of drawer full of half poems would get slightly bigger, not by much. But last year I met a really good group of women, other mothers, through this online group, and some of them are writers, but they're all extremely encouraging, and we all encourage each other to really pursue our passions. And that was really important to me. So I decided I'm gonna finish. So I started picking up these poems out of the drawer and rewriting them and finishing them, and then I posted one on Instagram because it was my friend forced me to. And that's what a good friend is, by the way. That's what a good friend looks like. I posted one, and then that sort of broke the seal, because I've been thinking about doing that on Instagram for a while, and decided to myself I would try and post. I've got kids, I can't do it every day, but 2 or 3 times a week, and I've managed to do that. And half of the poems are reworked older poems, and half of them are new, because the more you do it, the more it comes, the more naturally it comes. And I feel like I'm really in my flow at the moment, and I'm just enjoying it so much.
Absolutely. Wow, what a very inspiring journey that you've had, definitely, with your poetry. I love how you said it's something that is so true to your heart, it can't leave you. You tried to leave poetry, but it curdled inside you like spoiled cheese or something. And you start smelling it through every sense of your being, and you're just like, I have to continue it on. So I think that's so great for people to hear, because so many people, they are closet poets for so many years, and before they know it, time passes. But it's, our words they're timeless. You know what I mean? It's never a bad time to start writing again, or pick up a pen and start writing. I think it's very, very beautiful. So tell us a little bit about, you talked a little bit about it, but what really is pushing you? What do you think is that inspiration for your writing? Like you said, it's something inside you that you couldn't get rid of. What has really pushed you? What are the inspirations? I know you had said, you had mentioned the poet in residence that you had finally met one day, that you had been reading about her work, and then she came into your life literally like in fruition, and she walked through the door and was teaching at your uni. What really for you, what pushes you to keep writing? What is your inspiration to really put those words down on paper?
For me, it's about trying to explain a feeling, maybe one that I don't understand myself. So I want to get it down on paper and try and put it into some order that I can understand it, and hopefully other people can also relate to as well. So I'll start with just a draft of what it is that I want to say, and then try and bring those words together, pair them down, experiment with form and rhythm, and that's the bit that I really like. It feels like a puzzle. It feels like putting the puzzle together. And the best thing is when you know that it's right. You're looking for the word, and then you get it, and it's just that there's no question. That's the one. I love that feeling. So it brings me an immense amount of satisfaction.
Absolutely. I love that. So you described, because you had said earlier, prose you can't do, but poetry, that's truly kind of where your mind goes, because it seems like it's like a puzzle, like a riddle almost, that you have to follow. I'm curious then, when you write your poems, what is kind of your method? Different poets have different methods on how they kind of just go about their writing. Some people, they straight to their phone, they wake up in the middle of the night and they write some notes down. Other people, they're strictly pen and paper. They were very organized. You described it a little bit. Some people are very organized, just draft, first draft, second draft, last draft. Yours seem almost like this kind of almost abstract form where you're looking at like a puzzle. How would you say you write your poetry?
I like the idea of writing in a notebook, and I sometimes do. If I'm going to be traveling or something, then I will definitely always take a notebook with me. But if I'm working day to day, then I just get too tired writing by hand. I can't read it sometimes too. So no, I have two Google Docs, and one is for complete poems and one is for ideas, works in progress. Because it's nice to skim through it when you want to write, but you don't have something new, and then you can go back and see if you can shape something else that's there. So when something occurs, when inspiration hits, which could be on the bicycle or the train or something, then I'll pull it up and I'll put that down on my phone or my computer before I do anything else, and just make sure that's there, it's priority, and then I'll come back to it later on. And sometimes they come out, it might be that line, and that it's, that's like the denouement, that's going to be like the perfect ending. Or sometimes it's just an idea. So I used to try to write a perfect poem line by line, every word perfect. But now with the joy, I understand the joy and the actual processes in the editing. So I'll just throw mud at the wall, and the more that's there, the better. And then I try and finish it quickly, but I'm going to say probably 1 to 2 days, 1 to 3 days probably is a good amount of time, because it's nice to come back to with fresh eyes and, switch about some of the word choice. And, but they do tend to come together quite quickly, and they know what they're doing, which is nice now, because when you're the one who really feels like you're, Muriari, like trying to force it, then it doesn't really feel good. But when the poems know what they're doing themselves, and you're just kind of obeying orders, I know that sounds a little bit out there, but that's when I really feel good about the process. And the more you do it, the more that sensation arrives.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the poems, they almost write themselves. I like how you describe that. That's a very very like ethereal way to really look at the poetry, almost like it's its own person, and you're just a crafter crafting it together. So I love that. I love that. I love that. So let's go into your the other segment of your writing career. So you have more than 15 years of experience in script writing, lyric writing, copywriting in Japan. Some of your past clients are NTT, Aeon, National Geographic, Discovery Channel, Subaru, L'Oreal, Maxell. I mean, so many things you've done with your years of experience, lyric writing, copywriting, script writing. How have you been able to build this type of career and connections you've made with all these brands simply just through the skill of writing? I think so many people, whether this show is very much based around poetry, but it's also solely based around writing and what that really means to different people. So I'm very curious at what your career has been like. How have you been able to transfer writing to working with brands that, you know, we've heard of from the time we were born? How have you been able to do that? And what does that look like, a script writer for Subaru, or a script writer or copywriting, lyric writing for National Geographic?
It's opportunism, really. It's knowing people and just being like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'll do that. And it is easier in a place like Japan, where there are fewer, English writers, obviously. So there's, Japanese companies looking for people who can write English scripts or copywriting. So the copywriting mostly has been, and I should say that all of this has kind of been mostly side hustle. I've been doing other things as well. I haven't done this as a full-time job, but I guess apart from, so I work as a narrator, and I have had times in my life when I've done that full time. And the thing is that in Japan, you get the script when you go into the recording studio, but it isn't always in the most polished English. So there's a point, before you begin, where if they're open to it, you might have an opportunity to rewrite the script, and then people just learn, your agents learn and clients learn that you're able to do that as well. And so they might ask you the copy ahead of time so that you can rewrite the script, or they might just hire you to do the script and the narration together, which I love, because it's nice being able to read your own words into the mic when you're recording. So that, and then just having different contacts, having contacts who are working in design and advertising, and for our websites, I've done most of the copy. So I'm not a trained copywriter, but I've had a lot of opportunity, and been required to do a lot of copy for ourselves as well. So yeah.
So for you, what would you be, to anyone listening, what would your biggest piece of advice be to people that want to slide into this, whether a side hustle, whether it be full-time? I know you use the word opportunism, but what would you say is like the biggest kind of key factor for getting these types of gigs as a writer?
I have to say that my experience is very Japan centric, and I'm sure that any advice that I give is not going to translate to, being a copywriter in the UK or the US. But I would say that probably the best piece of advice would be to really hone your craft, which is not what I did. So really hone your craft and really know your industry, and, focus and stick to it. Because if you want to be a copywriter, then you have to know copywriting, and you have to go into it from that. From the ground up. I've just been very lucky. I've been very lucky that I've had the opportunity to try different things, and that they have, gone fairly well, and that I've been, hired again to do the same thing. And I have a very varied career and work experience, which I'm glad for too, because I'm a bit of a restless soul. I like doing lots of different things at the same time. So I don't know, probably not to do what I did unless you're in Japan. If you're in Japan, then just take any job that's going. And if you can't quite do it perfectly yet, find someone who can help you until you can sort of learn the ropes, but just take every contact and every opportunity.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. Grab life by the horns, every opportunity that you can while you still can. Love that. All right. So you're also a bedtime book writer. I found this very, very fascinating. I think this is a very fascinating point because I think this directly correlates to the poet in you and the poet that you are. So your book, Gugu and Penfin Sleep, is a bedtime book you made with a soothing audio accompaniment. What was your reason in writing that, and what has the feedback been like in a place like Japan for a bedtime book?
My reason was because my daughter would not go to sleep. So it was necessity, mother of invention. My daughter wouldn't go to sleep. I tried everything, and I went onto Amazon and I bought 10 of the most highly rated children's bedtime books, and I brought them all back. And most of them were actually pretty exciting and not what you want to be reading to a child that you're trying to get to sleep. But there were one or two that kind of worked when I read them slowly on repeat. And you have to repeat. Kids love repetition. They want the same book like 5 times. And it got me thinking that I could see that it was the rhythm, the repetition, the rhyme, not really the word choice. I mean, these were basically books that were of poetry. It was, a story in verse. And the language was quite high level. So it wasn't really about the child necessarily understanding all of the concepts. It was about the way that it was delivered. It was about the soft sounds and the repetition, the flow, and also having it on repeat. So it's kind of about the vibe more than anything else. So I came out of the bedroom after my daughter had finally fallen asleep one night, and I thought I could write something like that. And it's just one of those ones that just came out, and I wrote it down, and that was it. It was done. It was 10 minutes. It was done. And I put it in a drawer. Put it in a drawer. And then a couple of weeks later, a designer who was part of a design and illustration team came to our school and was basically like cold pitching any, if we needed any anything done for the website, any design or illustrations for the website or our promo materials. And I said, no, but I have this poem that I think could be a book. And this is what I want to do with it. So they did the illustration. And then I wrote some background music, and I narrated the story and put it on a 20-minute loop. And it's accessed by a QR code on the back of the book. So you go in, you read the book to your child, and then, so getting out of the bedroom is the hardest thing. Like, you have to be a hypnotist ninja to be able to get out of a child's bedroom at night. But this makes the segue a little bit easier because you're kind of leaving a part of yourself in the room. You've read the book together, you put the book away, and then you put the audio on. It's the same story, but it's super dreamy music, and then just lulls them off to sleep. So yeah, the response has been quite good. I self-published, and I still have a lot of books left because selling a book is quite hard. I'm sure a lot of people listening know that selling a book is quite hard. Getting into distributors in Japan is also particularly hard, but a lot of really, really good feedback from everybody that has the book already, and it works, and I'm really happy with it. It's a beautiful book. It was bound and printed by a Japanese printer. It looks really, really pretty. Google and Pen and Sleep, everybody, for your next baby gift book.
Yes, everyone go get this book. I have to really give you like a round of applause and congratulations for that. I'm a big fan of anything children's literature and
really?
Children's TV work, children's. And when I say children's, I'm really thinking like 8 and under. So really, I'm such a big fan. So I really commend you. That's a really, I always say like when you're doing work like that for children, it's truly like a public act of public service because you're helping so many people. So I was able to check it out. It looks like a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. So everyone go check out Gugu and Penfin Sleep. Wait, but hold up. Gugu and Penfin Sleep. What's the name? What's the name about? What does that mean? Gugu and Penfin Sleep.
My daughter's name is Grace. And so when she was too little to say Grace, she called her Gugu. And the illustrator, who I had not met in person, she wrote I wasn't even expecting a character. I was just, we talked a little bit about what it might look like on each page with the designer, but then this illustration came back of this child that looked so much like my daughter. And I showed the designer a picture. She was like, wow, that's amazing. They really look alike. So that was Gugu. And then there was this little sidekick, this penguin that looked like my son, who was 1 at the time, this widespread eyes. And so I thought my son's name is Finn and the character is a penguin. So I called him Penfin.
Nice. All right. So inspiration, right from the
I mean, it's nice writing kind of a book for your kids, isn't it? They'll always have that.
Exactly. They always have that. Now it's a very, very beautiful thing. Everyone go check out Google and Penfin Sleep. And we'll get more to that later as Rachel shares all her links. So Rachel, this has been, just amazing so far. You're dropping a lot of knowledge for a lot of folks out here that are listening. I know for a fact. So as we're kind of wrapping up, I'm curious for you, what do you think people can truly take away from poetry?
Poetry, to me, as opposed to other forms of writing, is so deeply personal. I don't know if everyone will agree, but I think as a prose writer, you can write a story and not reveal much about yourself as a writer. And I just don't know if the same thing is true about poetry. You really are just slitting open your chest and showing everybody what's inside. Even if you're writing in character, even if you're rewriting, a myth or a familiar story, or even if it seems observational, for me, the poem is not going to connect unless it reveals something about the poet. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for what is the poet trying to say beyond what is just there. And I know there's lots of poems about pretty English gardens and things, but for me, they're not really the ones that I enjoy writing. For me, it's always something I'm seeing right into the poet's heart or mind. I'm seeing something. And I think it's that the audacity to be so vulnerable that I really appreciate and respect. And I think that's why most people don't publish their poetry, and they're too shy to show it. And I think that was the same for me up to about 3 months ago when I started publishing poetry. And I had a conversation with a friend recently who's another like multi-hyphenate, he's an artist and a lawyer, and he said like showing his art still feels very edgy to him. Like his heart is in his chest and it's just this frightening thing. And I would surprise myself by saying, not me anymore. Actually, I don't care. Like I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over trying to impress people. I'm over pretending I don't have feelings, that I'm not human. I'm over concealing all of these things. This is the human experience. And I think that poets, maybe poets more than anyone else, are the ones who really bear themselves in that extremely vulnerable way.
Yeah, absolutely. You said something that really hit a mark in my head. You said having the audacity to bear your voice, having the audacity to tell your feelings. The word you use, audacity, why that word? What do you think that the audacity to bear your voice? What do you think is audacious about bearing your voice?
Well, it is because, today's culture is all about being an individual, but it's actually not. It's not. Everyone is still just trying to fit in. Everyone else is still trying to do the same as everybody else. Everyone is trying to pretend that they're tough and cool and they don't have real emotions and feelings. So it is an thing to say, this is me, this is what I think, this is who I am.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I love that. I just love that word, that usage of that word, audacity to bear your voice. Cause yeah, it's an act of really it's an act of service. It's an act of courage, really, to really show us who you truly are through your poetry. Absolutely. No, I love that. I love your take on that. I love everything about what you said. Woo. All right. Shoot. All right. Last question for you. All right, Rachel, tell me, why do you need to get your words out?
Because there's not enough room in my chest for all of them just to sit there. That's it. Gets crowded, gets heavy.
All right. It gets crowded, gets heavy. Not enough room in her chest to keep the words in. I love that. There's a beautiful way to end. All right. Thank you so much, Rachel, for being a guest on the podcast today. So we let's look into the future. Tell us, what's 2022 and the rest of the year looking like for your writing, as well as beyond. Anything else you have, projects coming up, as well as for folks that want to check out your writing, please tell us where your links are and where we can go check out all of your poetry.
So I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing. I just started posting on Instagram in March, and I have, I think, about 35 poems or something like that, but I'm going to keep going. And you're frozen again. Is this gonna, oh, you're there. Sorry, I thought it was going to drop again. Yeah, so I'm going to keep going with my Instagram account. I'm just going to keep writing for me and for anybody who is interested in reading it, and see where that takes me in terms of my craft and the quality of the writing, and whether anybody is interested in it. Beyond that, I don't have any plans. That's enough for me. Just keep it going right now. I did get a phone call from a friend today who is a photographer and videographer, and he always is reading my poetry and is very encouraging, and he suggested that he come and video me doing some readings. So I think we're going to do that this month, and then I'll get those up on Instagram as well, which will be kind of fun to do, the voice work along with the poetry. And for the writing, that's pretty much as far ahead as I have thought for now. But I mean, I would love to get some events happening up here. We have event spaces. I would love to have poetry readings in some of our spaces. I know that there is a poetry community in Tokyo, but I'm yet to tap into that. So maybe I'll be doing that towards the autumn. Yeah. And if you want to read any of my poetry, I'm Tokyo RF for Rachel Ferguson, Tokyo RF on Instagram.
Perfect. Okay, everyone, please go check out all of Rachel's amazing work. Go check out her Instagram page, and for all the amazing work that she's doing, go by Gugu and Penfin Sleep. Go check out all of her stuff. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Rachel.
I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure having you. All right, everyone. Rachel's links, all of her info will be in the YouTube channel, The Poet Speaks Podcast. Check out the description box of this episode. So go ahead, check out the YouTube page. Check out this episode on the YouTube channel. All right, for all of her amazing links. All right, big thank you to Rachel and everyone. This is The Poet Speaks Podcast. We will see you later. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.